Good morning. I'm Douglas Marconi. I'm with the National American Indian Housing Council, the Executive Director. I'm sitting here in Washington, D.C. office this morning with Tonya Plummer. You are the Dakota-Assiniboine-Cree tribal member, and you're the Director of the National American Housing Program through Enterprise Community Partners. And that's a national nonprofit housing intermediary. It's nice to visit with you this morning. I wonder if you might have some ideas and some thoughts that we could share with our tribal member associates out there in Indian country about some of the work that you do at Enterprise. Share a little bit with us some of the challenges that tribes are facing, and also maybe some of the big asks that they have for assistance, and how you might be able to work with National American Indian Housing Council together and make some of the programs a success.
Well, first of all, very much thank you for having me here. It's very good to be here in your beautiful offices. I have not been here before, and it's great to meet some of the staff and get to know you a little bit better. Um, Enterprise is a national nonprofit housing intermediary, which means we're a connector, we're a bridge builder. We stand working between some of the federal agencies and then our partners, our practitioners on the ground, to make good things happen, to build more homes, to stabilize tribal economies. Um, our work, I am so blessed to be able to work with tribes across the country in every region, including our partners in Alaska and Native Hawaiian partners in Hawaii on housing and community development projects. And this work is dear to my heart. I think as a tribal member myself, I'm enrolled Sisseton Wahpeton Oyate. I'm Dakota Assiniboine and Cree. And after many, many years in the for-profit mortgage industry, was asked by my tribe to help them figure out housing and home ownership. And so I stepped into the space of tribal economic development and starting a native CDFI, working with my tribe on writing the Hearth Act. And so from a very grassroots perspective, gained some insight into some of the challenges that tribes are facing today, because we were experiencing it, trying to start new housing developments and bring access to capital for mortgages, and work with our tribe on the land use and planning and codes and all of the things we needed to do for these big plans to happen. So now I get to work with tribes across the country on those
Sure.
same things, and learn a little bit more with every tribe we work with and every region we work in.
Sure, I really appreciate that information. It helps us develop, drill down on the key areas that tribes are looking for assistance in, and the work that we do, trying to figure out exactly region by region, for example, what the needs are. They're so varied from Alaska to the Southwest to the East Coast to the West Coast. There's so many tribes with varying issues and challenges. So tell us a little bit more about how we might, as National American Indian Housing Council, figure out exactly what are the key issues lately this year with more funding coming in for housing authorities. What should we be targeting that will help tribes understand exactly where their home building and their home ownership opportunities may be, or are we looking at something that we haven't talked about enough yet?
That's a big question. There's so much to talk about there, and so grateful to see the work of so many of our partners on the legislative side in advocacy to help bring in the resources that have been needed for so long. So significant increase in the Indian Housing Block
Yes.
Grant funds this coming year, and a lot more that our tribal partners can do with those funds. I think we work a lot on, probably our niche is on the development side. We have several curriculums that we offer, and we work with tribes and started to work with tribes on home ownership. We wrote Enhancing and Implementing Home Ownership in Tribal Communities with the Minneapolis Feds and Center for Indian Country Development. And so that's a 12-module curriculum on end-to-end needs of building a strong home ownership program. But we're finding, and I found this on the ground, that even before you can do that, you cannot finance homes that don't exist.
Right.
And so your development efforts need to match pace with your economic development efforts, and the demand in the community for home ownership and for really the full spectrum of housing for tribal members. And at that point, that looks like coordinating more with the tribe itself, with the tribal council. It works like fostering a relationship that's strong, where there's trust built and where there's a joint vision for development for the tribe. And I think in our experience, we often see that as a gap. Sometimes the housing authority is working over here really hard on their Indian housing plan, yes, and doing everything that they can, often wearing many hats and carrying the burden of serving the tribal members in the best way that they can. But maybe not always a part of the tribe's planning efforts and planning department, and maybe sometimes a disconnect with the tribal council and the tribal leadership. And so we're seeing some tribes that are really working hard to improve that relationship, to talk more frequently, not just in reporting, but in really getting to know each other and starting to envision what could happen if the tribe, the tribal enterprise, if there's a native CDFI, and the TDHE are really working closely towards this joint vision, leveraging each other's assets, bringing more capital to the project, but also more thought partnership and a more cohesive vision.
That's a great segue into telling us maybe our membership. Where might we find more information about your organization or some of these features and some of these programs you're exploring? I like the last one there about building development and community involvement with our tribal council levels and the folks that we deal with at the housing authority, the board members, the staff there. So where might we find more about you? Tell us a little bit about that and where we might be seeing you next coming up this summer.
Sure. You can Google Enterprise Tribal Nations. I think that will get you to our homepage website. On that website, you'll see a lot about each of our curriculums. You'll see Enhancing and Implementing Homeownership. We've also written and published a Native Developers Guide, and we teach that in Tribal Housing Accelerator Academies across the country. So if you're interested in that, we'd love to talk with you about bringing that to your nation. Sometimes we do that as in our cohorts. But you can see both of those full curriculums on our website. We've also been working on building out what we feel like is a strong tribal housing ecosystem. Okay. And so not just the funding and the development or the homeownership programs, but all of the pieces that need to fit well together, this dynamic, symbiotic relationship between parts of a tribal ecosystem to make robust, strong development happen. And so you can see a graphic that we have on our website, okay, of that. And then this summer, we'll be hosting a first ever national summit on the tribal housing ecosystem, August 27 to 29 in Boise, Idaho. And really looking forward to continuing to work with National American Indian Housing Council. We've been strong partners with you for many years, and have appreciated that partnership. Worked well together on some projects, or currently working on some projects now. And so looking to support you and having you to our events and inviting the members that we serve together to learn more.
Thank you for that information. We do look forward, and we also look back and thank our previous leadership at National American Indian Housing Council and their work efforts that have got us to this point. So we look forward to joining you hopefully this summer. Shout out to Idaho. We'll be heading back that way, and thank you for this opportunity to tell us a little bit about your work.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.